Taylor Swift is one of the most influential and talented artists in music. Period. She has sold over 70 million records. Wow, that is a lot of albums. She is absolutely that girl. Very singular. There's only one Taylor Swift. And as she's beginning her Eras tour, I really wanted to break down what is Taylor Swift's most iconic era. Make sure you like this video, subscribe. Let's go. Folklore is Taylor's 8th studio album. It was released on July 24th. There was no press cycle, no promotions for the album, just an Instagram post letting fans know that the album was going to be released at midnight. People were freaking out. During this time, we were all at home doing nothing. Due to COVID-19, everybody was in a pandemic. I bet you remember those days. Doing nothing, and nothing like Taylor Swift being the top diva that she is to let us all know that she was going to feed the children. Taylor Swift was going to do what needed to be done to entertain the people, and honestly, that's what she did. She worked with producers Aaron Dessner for the first time and Jack Antonoff, her buddy. Virtually, everybody worked from home, which is crazy. Taylor recorded all of her songs from her home in LA. The fact that she was never in a studio, like a proper studio, during the recording, and even, I bet, like, the production of Folklore is kind of crazy. Like, a lot crazy. Now, the album is the definition of a quarantine album, with COVID-19 as the working backdrop to a distant world that Taylor was creating, an imaginative universe where silence and folk were used together to create Taylor's newest record. An album that departs from Taylor's use of storytelling from an autobiographical perspective. Now, most of Taylor's music, is like her diary, right? When you listen to Fearless, you're listening to Taylor, right? It is a direct reference, a direct connection and communication from that artist. And I think that this was one of her first times where she really departed from autobiographical and she went more into story building, story creation. She really went fiction in this one in a way that I think was necessary, because when no one was doing anything, where do you go from there? When the world was quiet and silent, what music do you make, right? And I think she could have easily made a really sad record, which Folklore is not necessarily sad, but it definitely has a bit of a melancholy. She could have created a record that was all about being alone and how sad we are, but in another way, that would have been the easy way to do it. I think her creating these narratives, creating these fictional characters like Betty, right? I think it was the right thing to do. And I think for Taylor, it really moved her in the right direction. The music infused her traditional Easter eggs with fictional narratives to create a collection of 16 songs that sonically and aesthetically fit the times that we all were going through as a culture, as one people. Even the album cover, the fact that she shot it with just her and the photographer, she even shared in interviews how she did her own makeup, she chose her own clothes, and that's the magic of Taylor Swift. I think she does really well when her tools are limited, right? Because limitation is the best for creativity. And the record, although maybe she didn't want the big CGI, she didn't want the big, production in Photoshop and design, she chose something that was impactful, number one, but number two, it fit the record. And I think that's what makes Folklore so iconic. And honestly, I was going to put it higher, but if number 5 felt right. Now, the album is a mixture of folk and alternative blend. It almost gave Taylor, in a lot of ways, the credentials she was looking for, the street cred, to let others know that, yes, I make music for youth. I make pop music. I used to make country music. But now I'm making music for adults. I'm making music for your mom, or maybe your dad, or your uncle, or your aunt. It wasn't just for the kiddos. And although the kiddos loved the music, Folklore had a bit more of a mature palette to it. Even with the feature of Bon Iver, it was very strategic to make sure that she brought on someone else in the project that already had that credential, who had that really cool indie flavor, and in a lot of ways gave the album that stamp of this is a cool alternative record, because Bon Iver is cool and he's as alternative as it gets. So having Taylor Swift merge those worlds made too much sense. And the album won Album of the Year, making Taylor the first woman in history to win 3 times at the Grammys for Album of the Year. That is so impressive. Like, Taylor Swift is that girl, and even if you don't maybe like Taylor Swift, or she's not your cup of tea, or whatever, you can't say the girl's not talented. And I think this album is all about the music. It's not about the music videos, it's not about the rollout, it's not about the interviews, it's not about the drama, it's about the music. Now, the Metascore the album received was an 88, which is really high, and the album also received a Disney special, Folklore Long Pond Sessions, and later a sister album, Evermore, which we're not talking about Evermore today, but I deeply love Evermore, and my favorite song on the album is Happiness. So for all the Evermore girlies out there. Now, the album has sold close to 8 million records. Oh my god, wowzers. Now, Folklore shines in its world building. Taylor's first non-autobiographical project that surprised millions with its warmth and heart. At number 4, Fearless, a country album that has a swirl of pop infusion with pop bangers like Love Story and You Belong With Me. You could tell that Taylor was on the road of becoming the queen of pop. Taylor's sophomore record was released on November 11th, 2008, and the re-release on April of 2021. The album is the perfect embodiment of what it is to be a teenage girl in high school. The confusion, the innocence. The album uses rich imagery and fairy tales and a sense of whimsical energy, which songs like Love Story deeply influenced by Romeo and Juliet. The record won Album of the Year at the 2010 Grammys. Now, this album is by no question that girl. It is that girl. Fearless was the stepping stone for world domination for Taylor Swift. Fearless was the record that put her on the map. Now, we all remember the 2009 VMAs when Kanye West did what Kanye does best, which is destruction and evil. No, but really, though, it was really messed up what he did. And if you don't remember, here's a clip.
Before I'm gonna let you finish, but Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time.
Yeah, really messed up. And in a lot of ways, if we're being honest, their narratives have been intertwined since that moment. But what's even more interesting is that sometimes in every story, you need a villain. Now, I think in some ways, it helped Taylor Swift's career. Due to popularity comes at moments from controversy, and that moment was very controversial. You had to be there. It was insane. A teenage girl whose microphone was taken away from a rapper saying that Beyonce had the best video of all time. Like, what is that? But I would be lying if I didn't say that it didn't benefit, at the end of the day, Taylor Swift's career. First of all, it gave her material. Let me start there. And second of all, it made us realize that the girl that happened to was a nice girl, right? Because she could have easily done the press circuit and said how rude he was, how mean of a guy Kanye is, how evil he is, but she actively chose to not do that. She had class. She realized she didn't have control in that moment, and she surrendered. And there was something about Taylor Swift that I found very endearing. And it was during that era where I realized that was the girl she was. And so even though it's messed up, it benefited her in a strange way. And Fearless, for me, is an album that reminds me of middle school. It reminds me of what it feels like to be a teenager, to be a kid. And I think Fearless has the bops, right? It has Love Story. It has You Belong With Me. These are records that were country records that quickly went to the pop radios. It quickly became loved by kids who do not listen to country. And that's the thing about Taylor. You can't keep a good girl down. Like, country is great. And I need to make a video about country and my beef with it and its opportunities. But what Taylor did is she's like a student, and she realized that music, good music, is genreless. It doesn't have a genre. If you're going to add an infusion of pop in a song because it makes it better, do it. And I feel like Taylor Swift, from a young age, really understood the importance of having autonomy when it comes to your music, following your heart when it comes to the music. And Fearless is really the moment that propelled her into the career she has now. And it sold close to 12 million records with a Metascore of 73. And Fearless is iconic for its authentic heartbeat of the world of an American teenager, timeless and youthful. At number 3, Reputation, Good Girl Gone Bad. Now, this is Taylor's 6th studio album. Now, this project is a bit darker. It's drenched in controversy, yet again, from Kanye West and Kim Kardashian. Now, this consisted of the phone recording where they misused her audio to make it seem as if she was okay with Kanye's lyric in the word famous, where he says, "I made that bitch famous." And it just wasn't okay what they did to her. And during that time, she was not very liked, right? There was the Kanye drama, but there also was the Girl Squad drama, right? Remember Taylor Swift with all her model best friends? People felt that it was a harmful idea of what feminism meant and beauty standards for girls to idolize. And she was highly scrutinized for her relationships during this time. She was dating Calvin Harris, which we did get the pop banger "This Is What You Came For," an amazing song co-written by Taylor Swift. And she was also dating Tom Hiddleston during this time. Interesting time for Taylor. A lot of people just did not like Taylor at this moment in her career. People thought that Taylor was manipulative and calculative, and people thought of her as fake. Now, during this time, the consensus was that she was a snake, and people made it very known that she was a snake. They would comment snake emojis on her Instagram. They would call her a snake, maybe to her face. I hope not. But Taylor, being that girl, she said, okay, you want to call me a snake? Let's go. And that was the birth of Reputation. People really did not think that she was going to come back the way she did, but she absolutely freaking did, y'all. She produced the album with Max Martin, Shellback, and her buddy, Jack Antonoff. And the record has a flair of EDM. It's definitely a bit harder rock at moments, but there's a lot of love songs on the album that if people don't give it a chance, you're going to listen to Ready For It, Endgame, Look What You Made Me Do. Can I just say this? My favorite song on Reputation is Look What You Made Me Do. It is a pop banger. It didn't get the roses it deserved during its release. I feel like as time progresses, we're going to find that Look What You Made Me Do is going to become one of her best songs, in most streamed songs, because that song is so camp. It is so just juicy, and all I want to do when I listen to it is dance. Taylor can't come to the phone right now. Why? Because she's dead. Ooh, look what you made me do. Now, the album, in some ways, is her comeback album, shedding the skin of her past persona and starting a new chapter where revenge is expected and love is treasured. The album has a Metascore of 71 and has sold close to 6 million records. Wow. Now, Taylor has created a project that began as a response to the public, but ended up as a rediscovery of self, redefining what it meant to be Taylor Swift. At number 2 is Red. This is a fan favorite, no question about it. Her 4th album, released on October 22nd, 2022. Taylor's last country album. A perfect blend of country songs with classic pop tracks and a twist of rock and roll. Red is a breakup album through and through. The embodiment of fading love. The album includes pop, country, rock, and dance pop. She re-released the album in November of 2021 with Red Taylor's version. A majority of the album is in reference to a 3-month relationship that Taylor had with Jake Gyllenhaal. Unfortunately, he's an ass, but luckily from that we got what I believe to be Taylor Swift's best song, All Too Well. The fact that Taylor, during the re-release, released a 10-minute version of All Too Well. Now, let me be honest. I was not an All Too Well girly before Red Taylor's version. I had heard the song, but I'd never really listened to it. And when she released the 10-minute banger, my life was changed. It's the feeling. It's the longing for a love you know you won't get back. This song is what people need to listen to when they are experiencing heartbreak. All Too Well will get you there. All Too Well will make you feel like you are not alone, because we have all experienced having our hearts broken. We have all experienced not having the person that we want there. And that is a very common and in a lot of ways connects us all of a feeling, right? And Taylor Swift has really perfected emotions. And All Too Well really captures the feeling of heartbreak so freaking well. And the fact that it's a 10-minute version of a song that was played on the radio and went to #1 is just so iconic. Now, if you have not seen the short film of All Too Well, I highly encourage you to watch it. It's really great. I think that Taylor is starting to merge into a world where we don't know what's going to happen next. And I think that her re-releasing her music is claiming, first of all, her albums, which I think is the most important part. Taylor, at this point, she has to make a point, right? She has to let people know that they can't fuck with her. And I think I encourage that energy. Do what you need to do for you, for your peace. And if that for you is re-recording all your music and making your music yours, do that. And I'm into it. In the US, Red spent 7 weeks atop the Billboard 200, making Swift the first female artist and the second act since the Beatles to have 3 consecutive albums, each spend at least 6 weeks at #1. So by this point, Taylor is a superstar. She's an icon, that's not a question. The album is a fan favorite for Swifties. It really is the perfect Taylor Swift album, bringing in the elements of what makes Taylor great. During this time, Red became an aesthetic, a way of life. It was Uggs, pumpkin spice lattes, and Taylor Swift. The Metascore for this album is 77, selling close to 9 million records. Red is about heartbreak. It's about rebuilding yourself from the ground up and realizing that better days are on the horizon. At #1, it is 1989. Are you surprised? The Holy Bible of pop music, Taylor has received a lot of scrutiny after critics felt that Red wasn't a country album, and in response, she redirected her career and became the queen of pop she is today, with the goal of conquering the world. Taylor's magnum opus, when it comes to the craftsmanship of this record, to audience's reception, this album is #1, no question about it. Inspired by 80s synth pop, the album has 7 singles, with 3 of them going #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Now, you could not escape Taylor Swift during this time. She was everywhere. The radio, Target, Walmart, even when you went to Starbucks, they were selling the album there. Taylor Swift really let everybody know she was #1, and 1989 was world domination. I remember going to Target to purchase the limited edition Polaroids that you could buy when you received the album. So you bought the album and you got the Polaroids with the album, but only at Target. She knew what she was doing, and I think that you had to get them all, or you had to get multiple albums to have all of the Polaroids. She was playing the game, and you know what? Good for Taylor. If Taylor knows how to do anything, it's how to sell albums, and that's a talent, and I love her for that. 1989 was all about reclaiming joy. Now, during this time, Taylor was dating Harry Styles, and a lot of the album is influenced by their relationship. You could hear it in 1989 from Out of the Woods. Remember when you hit the bass too soon? 20 stitches in a hospital room? That really happened with Taylor and Harry. I'll put an insert here. Now, the record has songs that will forever be at the top of Taylor Swift's discography. From Blank Space. First of all, the Blank Space music video is one of my favorite videos ever from Taylor Swift. It is polished, it's elevated, it's camp. Taylor Swift, she doesn't get her roses for this, but she is one of the campiest celebrities, artists that I can think of. Have you seen the video For Me? That is camp as it gets, and I am so into it. She's just so okay with at moments not being laughed at, but being in on the joke, right? Maybe at moments being more youthful, at moments leaning into joy, leaning into creativity, leaning into color. Taylor Swift, if I know anything, will try something. And that is a competency that we as people should all have. We should all be curious to try something new, see how it works. And this album is all about experimentation, even with the opening. Welcome to New York. She moving from Nashville, going to New York, rebuilding her life, creating a new chapter. We all wanted to be Taylor in this time. We all wanted to move to a new city, wear some cool sunglasses, cut our hair, and live the life we've wanted to live. And Taylor Swift, for so many of us, is such a deep inspiration. And this album was really the rebirth of Taylor Swift. The rebirth of how people saw her to who she really is. Now, we did get one of my favorite songs from this record, Style. Come on. Is it about Harry Styles? Most likely. What I would love is if for Taylor Swift, during the re-release of 1989, release Style featuring Harry Styles. I'm telling you, pop music isn't ready for that. People would lose it. Oh my God. Let's speak that into existence, y'all. Style featuring Harry Styles. Let's make it happen. I wonder how the re-release, how she's going to work the album. What song is going to get the treatment? Are we going to get an All Too Well but an extended version? Are we going to get a song that maybe didn't get its shine and maybe give it a polish, create something new? I don't know. I can maybe see like a Shake It Off remix. You know what song I really like on the album that doesn't really get its roses is All You Have to Do Was Stay. All you have to do was stay. Hey, da-ba-da-ba-dum-bum-ba-da-ba-dum-bum-ba. Who knows? What do you think? Comment below. What do you think 1989 Taylor's version will consist of? I really would love to know. Now, the record won Album of the Year, the second time for Taylor Swift. And this was the beginning of a professional relationship with Jack Antonoff, who produced 2 tracks from the album, I Wish You Would and Pop Banger Out of the Woods. This album is truly the rebirth of Taylor Swift. The Metascore for this album is 76, selling close to 15 million records. You don't get those numbers. That is so impressive. 1989 is a declaration of love. Love to oneself, love to others, and love to life. 1989 is by no question Taylor's most iconic era. From Lover to Speak Now, Taylor Swift has no bad eras. She's a singular artist, creating art that comes from her heart. What do you think is Taylor's most iconic era? Are you an Evermore girly? Do you love her first album? Do you really enjoy Lover? I don't know. You let me know. What is your favorite album? Comment below. What is your favorite album in her most iconic era? Thank you so much for watching this video. Give it a like and subscribe. And remember to be a rainbow in someone's cloudy day. Because if anyone can do it, it's you. I love you. Bye. See you later.